Hello YouTube, it's Coco here again, and today we are going to be doing another update for my collection, my Blu-ray collection. This is going to be like part 2 to my last one, so it's going to be a lot smaller by nature. It's actually only 9 titles. Last month I had like almost 30, I think. Don't worry though, I've got some really cool shit coming for next month, so we'll get there, quick little aside, my audio is sounding like I'm picking up a lot of ambient noise today. I don't know what's going on with my microphone, but I'm going to try. I hope the audio is okay. I've done some troubleshooting, and I can't really pinpoint what's going on there. So, yeah, we're just going to get right into it. As always, we're going to start with the new releases, which this month there is all but one, and that is actually You Were Never Really Here with Joaquin Phoenix. This movie is described as a darker take on Taken, which really pulled me in. Joaquin Phoenix I'm a huge fan of as well, so I was pretty pumped for this movie. Kind of let me down, I'm not going to lie. I didn't think it was as good as everybody says it is, but it was still pretty good nevertheless. It's one of the better films that I've seen this year so far. That being said, I haven't seen a lot that was released this year. I'm planning on getting on that though, don't worry. But yeah, this one, I don't know, it failed to really capture me. It was sold as this really deep, dark, disturbing, fresh take on Taken, and I don't know, I just thought it was kind of average, but still a good movie. Joaquin Phoenix's performance in this film is very good, so I'd still recommend it to you, but not wholeheartedly. You Were Never Really Here. It's about, like, he's kind of a vigilante and goes after people who hurt kids, so yeah. Next one is a survival horror film. Not even horror film, it's more of a survival film in general. I've been really into these lately. Last month I got the open water movies, The Reef, a whole bunch of that kind of shit. And this movie there isn't as much of an antagonist, it's more of a rock, but that is 127 hours. This one came out a while back, and I remember it coming out and it being a big deal. And I was never a big fan of it. I rewatched it, though, and I think it's pretty darn good. It's based on a true story. It's about a guy who... I guess I should keep the Blu-ray in shot when I'm describing it. But it's about a guy who is just kind of doing some canyon exploring, and he gets stuck under a rock. His arm gets pinned, and it's about him having to try to escape that. And it's most of the movie's told through flashbacks, so we get an idea of who his character is and everything. Next one, this is kind of a funny story. It's a Godzilla 2-pack, and this is Destroy All Monsters, and it also comes with Godzilla vs. Megalon. I actually already own this, and I lent it to a buddy, which I never got them back, and I was like, fuck, they're going out of print, so I picked this one up for a lot of money, and now he has gotten back in touch with me and says I'm going to get them back. So that's why I haven't opened these, and I haven't watched them yet. I've seen Megalon, I have not seen Destroy All Monsters. I lent it to him before I watched it, which was a grave mistake. But I'm hoping that I'll get those back from him, and then I'll probably look to sell these, or I might keep them, just because they are out of print. They're Godzilla movies. These are Showa Godzilla, so they're like the cornier, more lighthearted ones, which I actually don't like as much. I'm more of a Heisei Millennium fan, but irregardless, I got them. Next one, this is tied for... I don't know, maybe my favorite movie in this update, and it is Hatchet. I did not think much of this film going into it. I've heard about it when I was younger, and I had it in my head as a different movie. I don't know what movie I was confusing it with, but I did have it kind of like, this is not the movie that I thought it was, and when I watched it I was absolutely blown away. It's a slasher film, and it's very graphic, so you have to be into that sort of stuff, and if you are, then this movie is fucking amazing. The kills in this shit are crazy. You see people getting ripped apart, and it's really cool. That being said, though, it is a pretty basic slasher film. It's not really testing any boundaries, it's just having fun with itself, but I think it's self-aware of what it's doing. So if that's what you're looking into, then I'd really recommend this. If you're a fan of slasher or like horror movies in general, this is a great one. I think it's one of the best modern takes on the slasher genre. Really good. Really good. I also, because I loved it so much, I picked up Hatchet 2 right away. This one wasn't as good as the first, but it was still really good. We still had some really cool, innovative kills in here, and yeah, it was a solid sequel, I thought. Very self-aware, just like the first one. Another pretty run-of-the-mill slasher film, but what makes them non-run-of-the-mill is their character and kind of how they take themselves. And overall, I really enjoyed it. I haven't bought two or... Fuck. I haven't bought 3 or 4 yet, but they do carry those at my local store, so I'm going to be picking those up eventually. Next one I got, this is a trip of a movie. Marijuana is going to be legalized here in Canada in a couple months here. So if you're on that train, then this is one you have to watch as soon as it's legalized. And that is Candy. This one is Marlon Brando and I don't even know what her name is. Ua Allin. Ua Allin? I don't know. It's a movie from the 60s and it's a very exploitative film. So it's based off of exploitation and it's very offensive, I think, to a lot of people. It definitely could be. Because the theme of... this movie is basically just about this chick named Candy and how everyone wants to fuck her. And a lot of these characters that she meets, it's just about her going through this weird journey and meeting all these really eccentric, weird characters. And they all basically try to rape her. But it's not taken seriously at all. It isn't played up. So I can see people saying that movie is making a joke out of rape and all that sort of thing, and you wouldn't even be completely wrong, but it's still hella entertaining, and if you have a little bit of a, your skin isn't too soft, then I'd recommend that. That is also the start of the niche films, niche Blu-rays. This is a Kino Lorber. Next we're going to get right into the Shout Factories. This first one is from Shout Select, which is a part of the brand that I don't really gravitate towards just because their titles don't really speak to me typically. I'm more of a Scream Factory guy. But this film I had to pick up because I'm a huge fan of Tom Hanks, and it is The Burbs. And there's the alternative artwork for you. This one was amazing. I really liked it. It's based on suburbia and this neighborhood of these normal people, and this really, really bizarre family moves in. It almost reminds you of, like, To Kill a Mockingbird, that fucking Boo Radley. Everybody's like, oh my god, who are these crazy people that moved in? And it's kind of a black humor movie, like very dark, but it's still pretty funny. And Tom Hanks is amazing in it, and it almost reminded me of a Burton-esque film. And what I mean by that is Tim Burton in a lot of his films, Edward Scissorhands, even Ed Wood to some extent, and Big Eyes, stuff like that. He paints this very vivid picture of suburbia, of just the burbs, if you will. But we never really see it. It's never like the main theme in his films. It's even in Edward Scissorhands, where it's arguably like the biggest. In that film, it's more significant than it is in any of the others. It kind of takes a back seat, and that's just kind of a part of a motif of Burton's films that I've always wanted to see more of, and this movie feels like that. So if this movie was directed by Tim Burton, I think it'd be even crazier. But regardless, it was a cool take. Next one, this is a new release. This is a Scream Factory. I had to get it just because I wanted the slipcover before it goes away, and it is a movie that I do own the original to. You can pick up the original one on Scream Factory for very, very cheap, so I'd recommend you do that. And it is Return of the Living Dead Part 2, and then again, here is the alternative artwork. This one is, if you don't know what it is, it's the original Return of the Living Dead. They're kind of like a comedy take on the zombie genre, and they're from the 80s. And these are the movies that gave birth to the whole zombies like brains idea. Because there's the zombie in here that literally just kind of goes brains and chases everybody down. This one I didn't think was as good as the first one. We had some of the cast transition to this one as well, so it was nice to see the familiar faces. But ultimately I think it fell a little bit short. I still really did enjoy it though. I didn't think it was a bad sequel at all. It stayed true to the original's heart. And kind of the tone of that film. So it was still a good hit, if you will. Sorry, my nose is really runny, and I'm a pig, so I'm just going to pick it. The next one is my second favorite film of this update, where it's kind of tied with one of with Hatchet, and it is Drag Me to Hell. This is a Scream Factory as well. If you want to take a look at the original artwork right there. This movie is fucking amazing. I love this slipcover, by the way. I think it is so badass. This movie is so much fun. It's directed by Sam Raimi. It came out when I was a little boy. And I remember it really intimidated me at the time, obviously, but everyone that I knew kind of took it as a joke as well. So it was nice to revisit it as an adult and kind of appreciate the horror aspects of it. It does have some pretty dated CGI, I will say that. Some of the CGI is not that good. But apart from that, it's a very well-paced film. It's got a lot of creepy parts and elements to it, and that's one I'd really, really recommend. Again, that's tied with Hatchet for my favorite movies in this update. So now we're getting down to the last two. I try to get one of these every update. It is an Arrow release, and it is Dario Argento's Cant O Ninetails, and this is one of the nice box sets. So in here you get a whole ton of posters and stuff, but I'll show you the actual Blu-ray with the original artwork right here. Dario Argento, if you don't know who he is, he's like the Wes Craven of Italian cinema, or like horror cinema. And I wanted Deep Red in the box set, but I missed my chance on that, and it got super duper expensive kind of overnight, so I'm probably just going to pick up the regular Amaray for Deep Red, and not get the Arrow box set, which kind of makes me sad. But I found this in stores for pretty cheap, comparatively to what is going on for online, and these tend to go up in price because they're limited edition, the box sets. You can get the Blu-ray that's in them typically pretty easy, but the actual box set itself is kind of hard to find as time goes on. So I'm still glad to have this one. I thought it was a pretty good movie. The foundation of it, I think, was set on the main two characters, which is a blind man and not his daughter. They aren't technically related, but they kind of found each other because he was missing a child and she did not have a father figure. So that's really where the heart and soul of this film is. There's also a really cool sequence that takes place in a courtyard. That's all I'll say. Lastly, we are going to finish off with the collection, or like box set. This isn't much of a box set. It doesn't even have a slipcover, but I figured I'd grab it anyway. And it is the Wrong Turn films 1 through 5. Now, so far I haven't had a lot of time this month, so I've only seen number 1. Anyway, rewatched it, and this movie's pretty horrible, but I love it. It's a really bad slasher type franchise, and I don't know how it spawned a 5-film saga, but it did, and I love them. I remember part 1 and part 4 from when I was a kid, and when I said I haven't watched the other ones, I mean like rewatched them since I picked this up. Number 1 I really enjoy, and I watched it again recently. I thought it was good. The lead actress is so cute too. And then number 4 is the other one I remember, and the only reason I remember it is because it takes place in this like cabin, and it takes place in the snow. So Canadians coming out in me, everybody. But yeah, those are the 2 that I remember, and then there's one in between those. It's either part 2 or 3. I don't know yet because I haven't rewatched them. That where the killers stalk a prison bus. So yeah, I guess I should give it a little bit more better detail. It's basically about like inbreed mutants stalking and killing people, kind of like a Hills Have Eyes type thing, only not nearly as well executed. So that is my update for this month. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then stay tuned for next month, because that one's going to be a lot crazier. I have a lot of shit coming in the mail. So as always, take care, everybody. This has been Coco. If you're interested in the digital copies, I think there was only one this month. I can give that to you, and that would be You Were Never Really Here. So just let me know. Take care, everybody.